comment, share, and like for more videos to my channel. Hit the bell if you mess with hell. It's going down. JayZ and Drake. I don't know why Drake even did that. Maybe because Nicki Minaj has publicly been taking shots at JayZ. And maybe Drake, him and Nicki are, or maybe he got his own shit he popping. I don't know what's going on, man. Listen, man. I don't know what's going on. But does hip-hop really need this? Because, let's be real. Hov took shots at everybody. And I do mean everybody. Yeah, we dissected long enough. It might be shots taken at me and you. But yeah, does hip-hop need this? Does hip-hop really need this? Does hip-hop really need this? As of today, in 2026, Drake has been into it with Sauce Walker, something about his baby mama. Drake has been into it with Hov. Publicly have been into it with Kendrick Lamar for a second now. And he's just on the computer, with no worries. He just released Iceman. He got $2 billion on the table. Like, man, Drake might be a problem to be messing with, man. Do you think Drake can handle Hov right now? Whoa, can Drake handle Hov? That's the real question. Hov and Drake. Who you got?
Dropped Iceman, a whole album full of shots aimed at Hov. And JayZ clapped back not with a diss track, not with a Twitter post, not with a subliminal. He clapped back with facts. Cold, calculated, billionaire-level facts. And that response hit harder than anything Drake put on wax. No cap. See? Drake went on Iceman and told the whole world he'd rather take $500,000 than sit at a dinner table with Sean Carter. Rapped that the jig is up on the OGs. Said he never could learn nothing from none of them. Basically stood in front of the whole culture and told the man who built the blueprint, literally, that he was irrelevant. That JayZ got big off Drake's name. Fam, the disrespect was astronomical. But here's what really happened. JayZ didn't flinch, not even a little bit. And the way he responded, it exposed every single move Drake has made for the last 2 years. Every lawsuit, every desperate play, every subliminal, all of it. JayZ put the receipts on the table and let the culture do the math. Y'all need to hear this because what's unfolding between these two men right now is not just a rap beef. It is a generational power struggle for the soul of hip-hop. And one of these men looks like a king. The other one looks like a kid who bit the hand that fed him. Sit down, fam. Let me break it all the way down. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to 2009, not 2024, not 2026, 2009. Because this whole thing between JayZ and Drake didn't start with Iceman. It started with a cosign. Drake was barely a rumor back then. A kid from Toronto who used to play Jimmy Brooks on Degrassi. The rap streets weren't sure if they were supposed to take him seriously or laugh him off the stage. He had buzz. Lil Wayne had put him on. But the industry was still sleeping. Then JayZ showed up on the successful remix. Think about what that meant in 2009, gang. That wasn't just exposure. That was the most powerful man in rap putting his stamp on you. JayZ co-signing Drake was the equivalent of the Pope blessing you in front of the whole congregation. And Hov didn't stop there. He put Drake on the Blueprint 3, one of the most important albums in Jay's entire catalog, on a track called Off That. He brought this kid from the north into his house. Gave him a seat at the most exclusive table in the culture. And then, when Drake dropped Thank Me Later in 2010, JayZ came through again. He opened the whole album on a track called Light Up and dropped some of the most prophetic bars you'll ever hear in hip-hop. He literally warned Drake. He said, and I want y'all to really hear this, he said, Drake, here's how they gon' come at you with silly rap feuds, trying to distract you in disguise in the form of a favor, the Barzini meeting, watch for the traitors. Yo, JayZ told this man exactly what was coming for him 16 years ago. The silly rap feuds, the traitors in disguise, all of it. And what did Drake do with that jewel? He pocketed it. He smiled. He took the feature, And then he spent the next decade chasing the validation of the same man who gave it to him for free. That's the foundation, fam, and you need that in your mind before we go any further. Because what Drake did on Iceman didn't come from nowhere. It came from a man who feels like he was abandoned, a man who feels like the father figure of the culture turned his back on him when it mattered most. And that pain, it's real. But here's where it gets crazy. JayZ's response exposed that the abandonment Drake thinks happened was actually something else entirely. Fast forward to 2024. And if you've been living under a rock, let me catch you up real quick. Drake and Kendrick Lamar went to war. Not subliminals, not shade. Full-scale hip-hop nuclear warfare. Both men dropped diss track after diss track in a matter of weeks, and by the time the smoke cleared, Kendrick Lamar was standing on top of the culture and Drake was catching metaphorical bullets from every direction. Kendrick's Not Like Us became the anthem. It became a Billboard #1. It became a Grammy winner. It became the centerpiece of Kendrick's 2025 Super Bowl halftime performance, which, for context, is the biggest stage in American entertainment. Tens of millions of people watching, and Kendrick stood on that stage and performed Not Like Us, while the crowd screamed every word back at him. And sitting courtside at that Kia Forum pop-out show, LeBron James, dancing, celebrating. A man who used to be in Drake's corner, visibly on the other side. Now here's where Jay-Z enters the equation, fam. Because who runs the halftime show? Who is the NFL's live music entertainment strategist through Rock Nation? JayZ. The man Drake just called a gatekeeper on Iceman. Drake's camp and a large portion of the internet started pointing at Jay-Z and saying he deliberately selected Kendrick to embarrass Drake. That Rock Nation was conspiring against the sixth god, that this was all orchestrated. The conspiracy theories started piling up, and the internet ran with it because people love a villain, even when the facts don't support the narrative. But that's just the beginning, though, because what happened next is what really shifted the energy between Drake and JayZ, a man who almost never speaks to the press about industry drama, sat down with GQ magazine for a rare interview. He was there to talk about his Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint anniversary shows at Yankee Stadium. But the conversation went somewhere else. And what JayZ said about the Drake-Kendrick beef, that set the stage for everything Drake put on Iceman. Here's what really happened, and I need y'all to understand that sometimes the most powerful disrespect doesn't come with a beat behind it. Sometimes the most damaging thing a legend can do to you is dismiss you, and that is exactly what JayZ did. In that GQ interview, said the Drake-Kendrick beef went too far. He said, and this is a direct quote, "We love the excitement and I love the sparring and the music you get, but in this day and age, there's so much negative stuff that comes with it that you almost wish it didn't happen." Then he said something that had to sting for Drake specifically. He said, "Now people that like Kendrick hate Drake no matter what he makes or says." And it goes far too. It's like attacks on his character and family. I don't know if I love that. He called it too far. He said it was bringing people's kids into it. Now on the surface, that sounds diplomatic. That sounds like Jay-Z playing elder statesman, right? Not choosing sides, just commenting from a distance. But here's what really happened when you read between the lines. Jay-Z didn't defend Drake. He didn't say the beef was unfair to Drizzy. He didn't say Kendrick went too far. He made a general statement that centered Drake as the person whose character was under attack, which it is. But he gave Kendrick the Super Bowl anyway. He gave Dot the biggest platform in American music while Drake was licking his wounds. And then when people questioned him about it, when people said he was part of a conspiracy against Drake, laughed. He actually laughed and said, this is the quote that should have ended the whole narrative. It's like, I'm Jay-Z, all due respect to him, I'm Hav, respectfully, it doesn't make any sense. Gang. He said, all due respect to him, like Drake was a minor inconvenience. Like the suggestion that Sean Corey Carter, a billionaire, a cultural institution, a man who survived Nas, Pusha T, Dame Dash, and everything the streets ever threw at him, would conspire against a rapper from Toronto was beneath him. That was the dismissal. That was the real first shot. And Drake heard it loud and clear, and he went into the studio and made Iceman. May 15th, 2026. Drake drops not one album, not two albums, 3 albums. Iceman, Habibti, and Maid of Honor. 3 projects in one day. It was the biggest music event of 2026. Make Them Cry became the most streamed song in a single day of 2026 on Spotify. Drake broke his own records, and the internet immediately got to work dissecting every single bar. But let me break down what Drake said about JayZ specifically, so we're all working with the same evidence, gang, because this is where the details matter. Track 1, Janice STFU. This is where Drake fires the first obvious shot at Hav. The bar goes, "You boys got big on my name, that's big enough. We know how you OGs rocking already, my nenshe, the jig is up." Now before you skip past that, understand the context. Jig is one of JayZ's nicknames, Jigga. Jay literally named himself after a street hustle. And Drake is saying the jig, the game is up. He's saying these OG rappers turned executives built their influence by riding the wave of newer artists like himself. That JayZ's relevance in 2026 is propped up by association with the generation Drake represents. That's not a subliminal, that's a direct attack on JayZ's legacy and standing. Track 2, Whisper My Name. This is where Drake went for blood in the most calculated way possible. He raps, "I'll take $500,000, not the dinner. I never could learn shut from none of y'all." If you don't know the reference, let me put you on. There's a viral internet debate that's existed for years. Would you rather have dinner with JayZ or take $500,000 cash? The idea is that a dinner with Hav, the mentorship, the wisdom, the connections, is worth more than $500,000. JayZ even addressed it himself in a CBS Mornings interview with Gayle King in 2023. He told people to take the money, saying everything he'd teach them is already in the albums. Drake took that meme and weaponized it. He flipped it. He's saying he'd take the cash. He's saying he couldn't learn anything from JayZ or any of the OGs. For a man who literally opened his debut album with a JayZ feature, a feature that was a warning and a blessing at the same time, to now say he couldn't learn anything from Hav? That is a whole generation of gratitude being torched on a record, and the internet went absolutely insane. Track 3, Make Them Pay. Drake raps, "You none as run and talk to Hav for a second opinion. Me, I stood 10 T's and accepted the mission." This is possibly the most targeted bar of the bunch. He's saying other rappers go crawling to JayZ for validation and advice, and a clear shot at J. Cole and Kendrick and anyone else in the industry who treats Jay like the final word. And Drake is separating himself from that. He's saying he doesn't need the cosign. He stood his ground financially, emotionally, professionally, without needing to consult the throne. But here's what people aren't talking about enough. On Make Them Cry, Drake also admits how much 2024 broke him. He raps, "What died back in 2024 was a big piece. So it's like this so it is me, but it isn't me." He's grieving on wax. He's telling you the Kendrick war cost him something real, and the man he partly blames for that, the man who handed Kendrick the Super Bowl stage while Drake was in the middle of recovering, is Sean Carter. So these Iceman bars at JayZ aren't just competitive rap shots. They're coming from a place of genuine pain and betrayal. Now here's what really happened after Iceman dropped. And this is the part of the story most people are sleeping on because they're too busy debating whether Drake's bars landed or not. JayZ didn't respond with a diss track. He didn't post on social media. He didn't call a press conference. He did something far more devastating. He let his actions and his already on record words do the talking. And fam, those words and actions exposed Drake in a way that no freestyle ever could. Let's start with the Super Bowl situation because this is the cornerstone of everything. Drake's whole argument is that JayZ conspired against him by handing Kendrick the halftime show. But what did JayZ actually say about how that decision was made? He said, "I chose the guy that was having a monster year. I think it was the right choice. What do I care about them two guys battling? What's that got to do with me? Have at it." Do you see what that does? That statement doesn't just explain the decision. It exposes that in JayZ's worldview, the Drake-Kendrick beef was never even his problem. It exposes that Drake assumed he had a level of loyalty from Hav that simply did not exist in the way Drake imagined it. This is the real tea, fam. Drake spent 15 years treating JayZ like a mentor, like a big homie, like the godfather of the culture who would always have his back. But JayZ has been operating like a billionaire businessman this entire time. JayZ was never Drake's personal protector. He was an investor in hip-hop's overall ecosystem, and Kendrick Lamar had the better product in 2025. So Roc Nation selected Kendrick. It wasn't personal to Jay, it was business. The exposure here is that Drake built his entire emotional understanding of their relationship on a foundation that was always more transactional than familial. And Iceman, as powerful as it sounds, is essentially a man throwing a public tantrum at someone who never agreed to be his guardian in the first place. That "I'm fucking JayZ" quote, gang, that quote is the exposure. Because what JayZ is really saying in that moment is this: you are not my level of concern. The idea that I would engineer a multi-million-dollar conspiracy against a rapper when I am a billionaire with a legacy that spans 30 years and multiple industries is so far beneath me that all I can do is laugh. And that laugh is the most damaging thing that could have happened to Drake's Iceman narrative. But wait, it gets deeper, because this ain't just a 2026 story. The street's been talking about the real tension between JayZ and Drake for a long time, and Iceman just brought it into the open. Go back to that light-up verse from 2010. JayZ literally told Drake 16 years ago, "Watch for the traitors. Watch for the people who come to you in the form of a favor." The Barzini meeting is a Godfather reference, fam. In the movie, the Barzini meeting is where Don Corleone figures out who was actually working against him the whole time. JayZ put Drake on in 2009 and then rapped a Godfather reference warning him about betrayal in 2010. Now fast forward to 2026 and Drake thinks JayZ is the Barzini. That's the full circle energy that nobody is clocking. And here's something else that's been buried under the noise. Drake rapped on an early track. "Successful. I'm just feeling like the throne is for the taking. Watch me take it." That bar, right there. Some people flagged it at the time as a shot at JayZ. Drake's camp reportedly denied it was a diss. But if you listen to Iceman and hear the bars about JayZ in 2026, you realize the ambition has always been there. Drake always wanted the throne. He just wasn't ready to say it out loud until now. The all-hip-hop piece that came out after Iceman described it perfectly. They said Drake built his legacy in a different, more progressive way than JayZ. JayZ built his on-street mythology catalog in the boardroom. Drake built his on-streaming dominance, pop crossover, and cultural relatability. Two different models, two different paths to greatness, and for years they coexisted. But the fundamental tension between the old guard and the new generation has been simmering since the beginning. Iceman is that tension finally boiling over. And what makes JayZ's position so powerful in all of this? He's not scrambling. He just announced Yankee Stadium shows celebrating Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint anniversaries. He's walking into the stadium as a generational legend. Drake is dropping triple albums with diss tracks buried inside, trying to prove he still belongs at the table. The contrast couldn't be more stark, and the streets see it. Real recognize real, on that timing. Here's the part where we keep it 100, fam. Because as much as the Iceman bars about JayZ slap sonically, what they actually reveal about Drake might not be what Drake intended. Think about this. Drake's whole Iceman narrative is self-sufficiency. He's saying he doesn't need validation from anyone. He doesn't need JayZ's cosign. He doesn't need the old guard's approval. He's the throne for the taking. That's the message. But, and this is crucial, the very act of spending multiple tracks on a multi-album project addressing JayZ tells a completely different story. You don't spend that much time and that many bars on somebody you don't care about. Real independence doesn't look like making an album full of responses to people who dismissed you. Real independence is silence. Real power moves in quiet. JayZ literally built Roc Nation while barely responding to any rap critic who questioned him. The HuffPost said it plainly. It's still unclear whether there's tension between Drake and JayZ or if things are just one-sided on the boys' part. That's the key line, gang. One-sided. Because JayZ's GQ interview, the one that seems to have lit the Iceman fuse, wasn't even about Drake. It was a brief comment in a larger conversation. JayZ wasn't stewing over Drake. JayZ was doing press for his anniversary shows. Drake is the one who took that GQ interview as a personal attack. Drake is the one who assigned a level of malice to JayZ's words that JayZ never actually intended. And that mismatch between how Drake experienced their relationship and how JayZ actually operated within it is the real exposure. Drake made an album about a war JayZ never agreed to fight. On Make Them Cry, Drake admitted, "What did it do to me? That's what it did to me." He's talking about the Kendrick beef, but without knowing it, he's also answering the JayZ question. The Kendrick war broke something in Drake. It cracked his confidence, and in that cracked state, he started reassigning blame. The conspiracy theory that JayZ orchestrated his downfall became a story Drake needed to believe because the alternative, that Kendrick just genuinely outmaneuvered him and the culture agreed, was too painful to sit with. Y'all need to hear this final piece because this beef, if you can even call it that, since it seems to only be active on one side, is about more than two wealthy men exchanging subliminals. This is about the entire architecture of hip-hop and who gets to define greatness. JayZ represents a model of hip-hop success built over 30 years of consistent excellence, street credibility, lyrical mastery, business acumen, empire building. He didn't become a billionaire by chasing streaming numbers. He became a billionaire by being undeniable on every level the culture respects. He turned down a feature request because his calendar moved differently. He sat out rap beefs because his net worth made them irrelevant. And when Drake put his name in multiple tracks on Iceman, JayZ's response was essentially, and this is what real power looks like, nothing. He let the institution speak for him, he let Yankee Stadium speak for him, he let 30 years of receipts speak for him. Drake represents a different model. The streaming era king, the most played artist in Spotify history, the man who broke every record the industry had. And that's real, fam. Nobody can take those numbers away from Aubrey. But numbers and legacy are two different things. And Iceman is Drake grappling in real time with the fact that the culture has started separating those two things. Kendrick's Not Like Us, getting a Grammy and a Super Bowl performance, didn't just beat Drake in a rap beef. It suggested that the culture was willing to crown someone else as the meaningful voice of the generation. And the one person Drake associates with that coronation is JayZ. But here's the real tea, fam, and this is what I need you to take away from this video. JayZ's response, the interview comments, the dismissal, the laugh, the Yankee Stadium announcement. That response is the most powerful thing he could have done, because it confirms something the streets have always known. True legends don't fight for the throne, they just sit on it. And when someone comes for them, they don't duck or scramble. They just point to the record. 30 years, $1 billion, 3 decades of being undeniable. That's JayZ's response to Iceman. Not a bar, not a tweet, just a legacy. And Drake? Drake's out here at the most commercially dominant moment of his career. Triple album drop, streaming records broken, make them cry, the most streamed day of 2026. And somehow the conversation keeps circling back to whether he's okay, whether 2024 broke him, whether Iceman is a victory lap or a cry for help. That tension, the gap between the numbers and the narrative, is the story. And JayZ, by speaking out and exposing the emotional architecture of Drake's pain without ever raising his voice, has demonstrated exactly why the dinner with Hav debate exists in the first place. Because wisdom doesn't need to be loud, power doesn't need to perform. And real ones let the work speak. The jig, as Drake said, is up, but just maybe not in the direction he thought. Gang, this situation is still unfolding. Iceman only dropped 4 days ago. The internet is still in the first wave of dissecting every bar, every subliminal, every possible reference. And the fact that JayZ hasn't made a dedicated public response specifically to the Iceman shots yet, that silence is strategic, believe that. Because Sean Carter has never been impulsive. He's been calculated since day one. And the question you should be asking yourself right now is JayZ working on a response? Is he going to address Iceman directly, or is he going to continue letting Drake swing in the wind while he headlines Yankee Stadium? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because I want to hear where you at with this. Does Drake's Iceman disses actually hit for you? Or does JayZ's ice-cold silence make Drake look even smaller? Is this a legitimate beef, or is Drake the only one who signed up to fight? And most importantly, if JayZ does respond, what form does that take? A verse? An interview? Or does he just let his accountant do the talking? Subscribe if you want to be first when this story drops its next chapter. Because fam, it is not over. It is very much not over. Keep it locked. I'll be here with no filter, maximum facts, and all the real ones know where to find me. JayZ just spoke out, and what he said about Drake after that Iceman diss, gang, it exposed the Sixth God in a way that no rap bar ever could. On May 15th, 2026, Drake dropped Iceman, a whole album full of shots aimed at Hav. And JayZ clapped back, not with a diss track, not with a Twitter post, not with a subliminal. He clapped back with facts. Cold, calculated, billionaire-level facts. And that response hit harder than anything Drake put on wax. No cap. See? Drake went on Iceman and told the whole world he'd rather take $500,000 than sit at a dinner table with Sean Carter. Rapped that the jig is up on the OGs. Said he never could learn nothing from none of them. Basically stood in front of the whole culture and told the man who built the blueprint, literally, that he was irrelevant. That JayZ got big off Drake's name. Fam, the disrespect was astronomical. But here's what really happened. JayZ didn't flinch, not even a little bit. And the way he responded, it exposed every single move Drake has made for the last 2 years. Every lawsuit, every desperate play, every subliminal, all of it. JayZ put the receipts on the table and let the culture do the math. Y'all need to hear this because what's unfolding between these two men right now is not just a rap beef. It is a generational power struggle for the soul of hip-hop. And one of these men looks like a king. The other one looks like a kid who bit the hand that fed him. Sit down, fam. Let me break it all the way down. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to 2009, not 2024, not 2026, 2009. Because this whole thing between JayZ and Drake didn't start with Iceman. It started with a cosign. Drake was barely a rumor back then. A kid from Toronto who used to play Jimmy Brooks on Degrassi. The rap streets weren't sure if they were supposed to take him seriously or laugh him off the stage. He had buzz. Lil Wayne had put him on. But the industry was still sleeping. Then JayZ showed up on the successful remix. Think about what that meant in 2009, gang. That wasn't just exposure. That was the most powerful man in rap putting his stamp on you. JayZ co-signing Drake was the equivalent of the Pope blessing you.
There's people that don't remember that. I mean, well, you know, social media. A lot of y'all ain't even old enough to know what JayZ has done in the rap game. Right? Y'all just know him as being the businessman. But if you are familiar with JayZ's career, you know Hov didn't put a dent in the game. You know? So it's a lot of millennials. Drake man, Drake. And I get it. Because that's all they know. You know? It's kind of like everybody saying Chris Brown. And just because a lot of them aren't old enough to understand Michael Jackson's impact. I don't know, man. Hey, this is going to be a real good one. It's going to be a good one if it is something. Drake, he just don't care about shit right now. And let's be real. JayZ, everything about JayZ screams success. He's a billionaire. He has the baddest bitch on the planet, contrary to what everybody says about Beyonce. Oh, she's falling off, she's this, she's getting fat, she's getting old. No, Beyonce gonna be Beyonce in any form, in any year, nigga. She's still this is her internet. Queen Bee's internet. So, when people talk about JayZ, they got to understand the kind of impact that he's had on the entire culture. And then he squirted Blue Ivy out his nuts. She's a fucking star. No matter what nobody says, she's a superstar. And she's... Comment, share, and like for more videos to my channel. Hit the bell if you mess with hell.